Welcome to episode 79 of the Jez and Friends podcast. Today's special guest is Shaun Gold. He's an entrepreneur, best-selling author, guest speaker, and high achiever. So how's it going, mate?
I've never been called a high achiever, but thank you.
Ah,
That's a new one. We're gonna put that on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's awesome. No, thank you for having me. It's going good. I appreciate you waking up early. I haven't been up at that time since I was your age, probably. So
oh, man.
so yeah.
No, that's all right. You got to keep the grind going, the podcast going. And as we said before, let's begin with your decision to attend the University of Miami. So, how did you choose to follow your passion instead of choosing a better school? Because I know you've had other opportunities as well.
So, I mean, essentially, when it comes down to this, because it's a very cliche thing of like, you got to follow your passion, and people, they follow what they think is their passion, but that's not their passion. I mean, I have a passion for PlayStation, but you don't see me competing at Evo's Fight Studio, or League of Legends or Street Fighter 7 or whatever it is. If you're really passionate about something that you want to do professionally, artistically, it consumes you. It's something that it essentially takes over your everyday, your being. You don't follow it pushes you. So it really was a choice for me to follow what I wanted to do and choose University of Miami over choosing University of Michigan, which is still to this day a far superior university. It's like light years ahead. But for me, looking back, it was one of probably, if not the best, one of the best decisions I ever made. And it's hard to look back when you have nothing really, no experience to look back on. So it requires a leap of faith, and it requires trusting yourself, and that's a hard thing to do, because if you don't want to obey and trust others, you have to obey and trust yourself, and it's much more difficult than it sounds.
Yeah, and with that decision, Sean, how did you, I guess, with the aspect of a course, with what you learned, how do you still use that today?
So essentially, I was entrepreneurship major because I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. Plus I had a really hard major. I was like, wait, I have to take what class? So entrepreneurship at this time, not to date myself, was like a fledgling field, and it was a very like easy degree to get. But it was taught by an entrepreneur, so we didn't have a textbook, we didn't have slides. It was a very like, well, this is what I did when I started this company, or this is what I did, and it was very useful. So definitely entrepreneurship classes. Definitely there was a marketing class called professional selling, which again, like I think everyone should take that. And then just for random stuff, because I've always been a fan of history. I mean, I took a lot of history classes. One, because I didn't take attendance, and two, because I enjoyed it, so I can kind of come and go as I pleased. And that information I still recall. But a lot of the other stuff, like the mathematics and the accounting and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, you got to know it, but at the end of the day, unless you're going to be an accountant or an economist or something, you're most likely going to call someone or hire someone. Or if you work at a company, there's going to be someone in another division that you're going to have to ping on Slack to do that kind of stuff for you anyway. So if you don't do too good in it, don't worry about it, because I sure didn't. But it's just, I've always been open to knowledge, and you never know what you're going to learn and who you're going to encounter. And some things are going to be a waste of time, but other things are going to, open yourself up to new possibilities that you would never, even contemplate before.
Yeah, and what you said about like dipping your toes into lots of stuff. So like obviously, as you said with the economics, you kind of touch base on that, but mainly it's like an entrepreneur teaching their journey. And did it have like lots of group interacted tasks, or mainly just like individual kind of assignments?
Not really. I mean, so it was there was the same professor for the two courses I need to get the degree,
Oh yeah.
and we had a group thing where we'd work for a company. And of course, the company we got, it wasn't like, oh, I learned so much. It was an average startup, which was just full of 40-year-old idiots. So you learn at a young age that just because you're old and you have experience doesn't make you smart. I mean, essentially, it worked out for me because we got just an A for doing it. But it's kind of like, well, these guys are too busy to take our call. You assigned them to us. You couldn't get us another thing. And these guys made statements to us that were clearly false, because when we put it in a presentation we did for them, they said, where'd you get these statements? They're false. It's like, you gave it to us over the phone. So we all just kind of looked at each other and said, okay, this is more of what not to do. So yeah, I mean, with entrepreneurship, it's very hands-on. And by hands-on, I mean you need to try different things and you need to fail at different things. And you need to, while you fail at these things, not lose a lot of money or lose a lot of self-respect or lose your interest or anything like that. It's much better to learn that something's not going to work at spending 2 months of your time, but you learned a lot, than to learn something's not going to work 5 years later. You lost 5 years, probably a lot of your own money, investor money, if you took investor money, and just opportunities. So, it's better the younger you start, the better it is. And, the more things you take apart in, I think the more well-rounded you be. I mean, everybody wants a specialist, but the world needs a generalist, you know? So it's great if you know how to code, but you should also, in addition to knowing how to code, how to format a company, how a cap table works, how to make a pitch deck, how to present, how to tell a story, how to communicate. I mean, you really have to know a lot of different things, because at the end of the day, finding co-founders, for instance, is very hard to do. You know, unless you know someone that you go back with for years that you guys want to start something. Finding someone online, it's just kind of like, we don't know this person, and it could be a total mismatch, and it's a big investment of your time and your effort and your resources. So, try and do as much as you can, when you can, and learn from it.
Yeah, and like what you said about finding a co-founder, if you, let's say, found a good mate to, run a business with, the issue with that as well is like, let's say you have like a argument or something, then like that can go downhill with that relationship as well. So, it's just always about projecting like 5 years time where that
Yeah, I mean,
connection
it's
is
like a
going to be.
marriage in a sense,
Yeah,
because you are working with someone and you're spending a lot of time, and you talk like every day, like 20 times a day, and you have to count on one another to get things done. And so many people are like, oh, I found my co-founder on Slack, or I found my co-founder. And it's like, okay, well, if you never met each other, or if you never worked together on something, so you can see how you interpret information and how you deliver. Because it just, I've seen it collapse. Most companies collapse or become zombie companies because the people can't work together. Maybe they work together for the first year, but this is a 5 to 10 year plus journey.
100%, mate. Yeah, it's all about the long term. If you're in it just for the short term, you're not going to get anywhere. So,
Mm-hmm.
100% agree with what you said. I listened to Sham's episode, and obviously, I wanted to cover the nightlife ninja scene. So, along the way with that, Sean,
Former Nightlife
yes,
Ninja.
yes, I saw your LinkedIn, mate. You did it for quite a few years. So, can you tell me like any big names you like came across and how those individuals may have influenced you, like with like a brief chat or something?
I mean, so I never really got starstruck.
Mm.
So, and
Creative
this
as an
was,
individual, right?
you kind of can't afford to be starstruck, because these people are your clients,
Yeah.
and you got to be cool. You have to be like detached. I mean, you'd be friendly with them, but you don't want to be like, give me a picture, or what do you think? Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they hear that from every
More
single
often.
person they meet, you know? So you just kind of, they want to, if they're coming to a club or a lounge or dinner, they don't want to do it to party for, the paparazzi and their Instagram. They want to do it because they want something to eat, or they want to hang out and have a good time. And then they'll end up in page six or TMZ or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did it for so long, and I'm still involved, but we call it hospitality now, because usually now I'm in bed by midnight. So no more nightlife ninja. Now it's more like, before 9 p.m. ninja, if you can even be a ninja at that time. Um, but yeah, I mean, listen, I'm trying, like, I never had like, oh, so Mark Cuban sat me down one day. It wasn't like that,
Yeah.
see him out, I see a lot of people out, or I'd interact with a lot of people, but it wasn't just like, oh, they pulled me aside, because at the end of the day, they weren't there to pull somebody
Mm.
aside. They were there to have fun. They were there to do their thing and relax and escape from their grind. Um, but it was just something that, again, this kind of, no matter what I do, how many accolades I have, what I achieve, it'll always go back to like, what's up for Friday night? Like, what's the guest list, which is fine, because again, I'm still involved, just in a different aspect. But that's just, I've done it for so long. I started back when I was your age, literally.
Mm.
So, and I just did it. I took a break before COVID, took a break during COVID, of course, and now it's just back on, kind of second nature.
Yeah, just quickly, I love my NBA. Any big NBA players, sure?
I mean, we used to, when the Heat was like the huge thing, we
Yeah.
had like LeBron and everybody there. They used to come out like
Shaun
once a
Gold.
week, twice a week. I did when they won the championship, we had them out, like, so that was on ESPN. So yeah, I mean, I see him all the time. Again, just say hi, just say, hey, how's it
Yeah.
going? That's it, because again, you don't want to bug him. You don't want to be like, you sucked last night. Didn't you ever play NBA Jam? It must be the shoes. You don't want to be that guy. You just want to be like, again, because people want to come, they want to party, they want to hang out. They don't want to be like accosted by like, someone.
100%. Who do you follow in NBA? Just quickly.
Nobody since the 1996 Bulls, man.
Oh, mate.
Like, I know people, but that was cool because I used to see like Michael Jordan out and Scottie Pippen, and Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons, like just and Dennis Rodman, Dennis Rodman. Here's your NBA thing, Dennis Rodman, who's not let's just say it's not the most normal person.
Yeah.
One night out, we did his birthday party, and I wished him a birthday, and he gave me such a big hug, like such a heartfelt thank you, because I guess no one wished him a genuine happy birthday, you know. And then, he started following me around. And it's like, listen, just because I wish you a happy birthday and like you in double team doesn't mean, going to be friends, man. Come on.
Yeah.
So, no, but yeah, I used to, like, growing up, I was more like in tune to NBA stuff. But again, we see, a lot of people. I mean, Patrick Ewing one day, I was like, who looks nothing like how I remember Patrick Ewing. And I was like, where you been? Oh, wait, that was like 20 years ago. So, yeah. So, no, but again, so many different players, and so many different sports. And I mean, I've had Olympic athletes out with me, that like that earn medals, and just so many different people. I mean, the nightlife and the hospitality brought me such a network
Mm.
of everything from entrepreneurs, Hollywood founders, athletes, celebrities, just everything. Because Miami it still is, but I think like not what it used to be, but it still is a spot that everybody would have to go to experience. And I was one of the people that would always have a guest list or have, the hookup or the private event or something that people would want to go to. So that's kind of how I did it. And just everything compounds. So, if you do something for almost 2 decades, it's going to compound. If you do something for 2 hours, nothing's going to happen. So, and then that's what everything.
Yeah, and with compounding, mate, I wanted to talk about assets. So, Sean, talk me through the importance of, using your assets for, investments in those like opportunities that can help you in the future, just like
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur.
So, essentially, I mean, again, a cliche thing, the best investment you can make is in yourself, but usually that's followed by, which is why you need to buy my course for $5,000. And like, it's usually something stupid. So my first thing is, don't like invest in yourself, but you can invest in yourself for less than $100 a month and get the best education ever. And that money can go to Substacks. That money can go to paying like a fee to be part of a community, like at $10 a month or something, or $20 a month with other entrepreneurs or founders or tech people, whatever. It can go to Amazon Kindle, where you could just load up on all these Kindle versions of books that are $20 hardcover, $3, digital. And I mean, if you are serious, you could really, become a different person. Going into the pandemic, I mean, I was a totally different person than I am now, because I used those 2 years of just to virtually network, to learn as much as I can, to learn, to get connected with the right people, and to just not stop. I saw the pandemic and the lockdown as kind of an opportunity. So I put myself through my own curriculum. I put myself through my own program. And anyone can do it. It just, that's what they have to be. They have to be committed to it. As far as like, you mean like financial assets, then yeah, I mean, it just, you want to always prepare for the future. But in our age of like, oh, you got to buy, I don't know, the Shaun Gold coin because it's going up half a penny, and you should buy
Bitcoin.
50,000 of them and dump it when it goes up half a penny. I mean, like, that's not really long term. If you want to be like a Warren Buffett long term, you have to buy something and hold it for 10 years, 15 years and see where it goes. Buy it and forget about it. But as far as like, because one day you're going to want to sell that and use that for something, and it's very hard unless you're a wizard, or everyone that thinks you can be a wizard with our Forex trading. That's right. Click the link below and you'll be a Forex trader and blah, 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 and make tons of money. Like, you have to really have long-term goals and a long-term vision to what you do. And, you have to be patient. And whether you're investing in yourself or whether you're investing in publicly traded companies or even private companies, it's easy come, easy go. It's like if you wanted to invest in a startup, you're not going to see a return. If you're lucky, you'll see a return in 5 to 10 years.
Mm.
And that's if you're lucky, because most startups fail. And it's just gambling, so it's up to you if that's what you want to do. If you want to look cool and put on your LinkedIn that you're an investor, all that's going to mean is that more people that want investors are going to message you with a deck, and just say, I saw your investor here, invest in my company. Even though they have no idea what you do, they say, here, we're going to be the Uber of applesauce. You'll love it. So, you know,
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency, Sean?
Me, I never understood it,
No,
and I never cared about it. And I had opportunity to get into it 6, 7 years ago, and I didn't, and I don't care, and I have no regrets because everyone I meet is like, "Oh, I could have been a billionaire." I've never met someone that is a billionaire from it. I've always met someone that 10 years ago they owned 75,000 Bitcoin, or they had
oh,
some
yeah.
ridiculous number of a coin when it was 35 cents, and they sold it all for like $1,000, and now they regret it. It's always the same story from all walks of life, and they always have, but they're always something new that they're trying to push. Um, so me, no, I just always kind of stayed away from it. I thought NFT was a university. It's not, you know. So yeah, I just things like that. I just if I don't understand it, I don't get involved in the hype, and I just know that it's very hard to build wealth and to be successful. It takes time, it takes effort, and there's no magic bullet. And I don't have any regrets of not getting into something so early. Yeah, I met someone named Mark Zuckerberg, and he wanted to get into his company. Nothing like that ever happened. And even if it did, I'd be like, whatever. What was going to get me in? I was going to have 0.0000001% of it. Like, so it's again, I don't regret anything like that, and nobody else should either. Just because it's very hard to get into something that's going to become the next Google or Apple. It's extremely impossible. You have to really get lucky, and most companies that do have a large exit, it's small 1% of all startups out there.
Oh, that's brilliant. And like those people who sold the crypto for 1K, like, sold it in the short term, didn't think long term as well. So just going
Yeah,
back
they
to
think
that.
long term, and again, everybody, but no, like nobody knows because it's a
Yeah,
new
no.
asset class.
Mm.
Everyone thinks it's going to be $1 million each or something like, or it's going to be you'll be able to just use one token for the rest of your life, or it could go the opposite and be like worth nothing. So it's too wild and too random. And if you want to live dangerously and do it, then go for it. But I'm always of the perspective of like, you know, I don't need it. It's not like, oh, I really need to get this to do something else with it. If I want something, I'm sure whatever I want, they probably take cash, or they take a credit card. So it's like, I'll just do it. I don't want to have to go get another type of currency to buy something because I'm sure they take it. So that's a long winded answer to a very short question.
No, I respect that, mate. Let's move on to, your authority stuff. So I don't know if that's a good phrase, but you're also best-selling author, Sean. So like the main thing I wanted to touch on is the publishing process. So you
Mhm.
want to talk me through, like, let's say the Better Be You book and how that came
Sure.
about?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I self-published everything.
Yeah.
I've always been of a mindset of like I'm gonna do it one way or another. I
Mm.
don't care what someone says, and whether it's anything creative, music, books, art, screenplays, anything, you have to deal with gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers are 99% wrong. They're gonna say it's too long, it's too short, it's too long, it's too wordy. It's not positive enough. It's too positive. There's always something that prevents them from saying yes and releasing it. So all my books I self-published. Self-publishing is not hard, especially with Amazon.
Yeah.
Essentially you just need to get it formatted and get the cover created. I mean, the hardest part is writing it, and the second hardest part is promoting it and marketing it and getting it out there to the world. But most people, everybody wants to write a book, and they say, "What's the secret to writing a book?" And it's like one word at a time. It's that easy and it's that hard, because you have to sit there at a time where we're all distracted. I got a phone, I got a Slack channel, I've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat. Like you got like 50,000
Emails, yeah.
things.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's 50,000 things happening, and you have to be completely focused on what you're doing. And a lot of people don't have that discipline. You have to be able to shut everything off and focus on what you need to do and focus on the task. And it's called deep work.
Mm.
Cal Newport coined that term. Before I thought it was just called work. Now it's a thing. Everything's got to have a second pseudonym. But yeah, so it's just that ability shut everything off and sit there and type and read it and reread it and rewrite it. And, a lot of people don't have that mentality. And it's just the best advice I can give is if you really want to write. We have a million things right now. You have Microsoft Word, you have Google Docs, you have Notepad, you have text to, voice to text. You can do a million things with it. It's just, you have to commit yourself to doing it and then sticking with it. And it's a long process because, you're going to write at least if it's 10,000 words, 20,000 words, 30,000 words, something. I mean, you don't have to write the next Game of Thrones, but you're going to have to write something that's, longer than a fortune cookie and shorter than, I guess, a pamphlet, you know, like something. So something in between there.
Yeah. And with that, mate, like how long would it take you to, publish, let's say, I don't know, 200 word book, for example?
You mean 2,000, like 2,000,
Oh,
20,000?
sorry, yeah, I've lost my
Yeah.
mind, mate. Yeah, yeah.
200, that's about the table of
That's too short,
contents.
mate. Yeah,
Five minutes, maybe six. Depends if we use Roman numerals or not. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends. Usually, before I write anything, it's in my head. I'm going over to my head. So right now, I have a Substack newsletter. They average about 1,500 to 2,000 words each issue. Takes me about an hour, But again, it compounds. So I have over 100,000 words in the database. Over 70 issues. Always a new issue every Sunday at noon Eastern that comes out. So for me, I mean, just writing is like second nature because I screenwrite. I've written the books. I have the Substack. I've copy edited stuff for people. I do content for startups. So to me, it's easy, but it wasn't always easy. It just you had to have the discipline to start and sit there and do it, and it takes a while to just get good at anything, not just writing, but it takes anything. It just doesn't come naturally, and if it does come naturally, you're still going to need to practice at it for hours and hours and hours.
It's a good segue as well. Like with the writing aspect, there's also a speaking aspect, Sean. So,
Mhm.
I've seen on your LinkedIn you do a bit of public speaking. So, can you tell me how you address like a larger crowd in comparison to like a smaller like lecture crowd, for example?
I mean, pre-COVID or now? Because now, I mean, it's mostly just on Zoom. It's just me talking, and it's fine because you don't have to travel, but at the same time, it's different because you want to be in the hall
Mm.
or the conference room or whatever it is. But it's always the same, whether I'm speaking to one person or 200, 200 people. It's just I go out there, I know what I have to say, and my lectures are always interactive. Like I don't use PowerPoint. I hate PowerPoint. I don't want to be like, and if you look at slide 7, bullet point 3, subsection 2, like it's very boring. I like to assume that everyone sitting there has the ability to read, so I don't need to read off a slide. So I just make it interactive, and I say, questions, comments. Let's have live discussions, and let people get in on the action and let them learn. And the more people, the better. The most recent thing I did was I did this seminar, and they had about like 100 150 people in the Zoom chat. So the Zoom chat was bopping. So we had a lot of questions and a lot of comments and links, and that's always fun. In person, it just, again, I walk around and I like to pace the room and call on people and just try to have people leave with something more than they came in with.
And what's it like when someone in the crowd, gets involved? Does it like get them more interactive or?
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it just because again, most people are unapproachable, or
Mm.
they don't want to ask the questions, or they're very like they want to keep their head down. But a lot of people have some legitimate questions, and I'm like, just ask. The harder the question, the better. Like nothing's off the table, and we just go back and forth, and then someone else gets the confidence to ask a question. Then someone else gets a question. Next thing you know, we have a whole conversation taking place, which is good. I feel like that's the best way to learn. I mean, it's just like you could read it yourself, or you could just like, I'll tell you, here's a funny story, and this is what we did, and this is what this company did, and this is what I think you should do. And it's just nice. It's, I've done it at how many? 8 universities now. Um, and yeah, I mean, I have people that, they add me on LinkedIn, or then they come to Miami, or, they just keep in touch with me, years later. So it's a cool thing. I mean, I always enjoy doing it.
Oh, it's amazing, mate. Thanks for sharing. And so obviously you've like, taught me a lot today, but give us like a piece of advice someone has given you that's stuck with you could be like recently or maybe a long time ago as well.
But you mean business advice, or be like, don't eat the pizza that's been left out in the sun?
Maybe
That's
both.
general. That's general advice for everybody. Don't eat the pizza in the sun. Um, so the advice, I mean, because I read a lot,
Yeah.
trying to think. I mean, for me, the best advice comes from my mentors, which are all books. You know, so I mean, I have so many different pieces of just knowledge I could drop. Some of my favorites have been, there's a quote from Machiavelli, never trade a certain good for an uncertain better, because that's kind of the truth of it. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to the top, and they'll like sacrifice everything on something stupid. Um, you know, a Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. What man needs is not a tensionless state, but a self-appointed task that he can achieve and rise to. I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, I can keep going forever. With Nietzsche and Rollo May and what's it called? Musashi, Book of Five Rings, and Sun Tzu and Carl Jung. I just have so many. Um, it's because it's funny because it's like I'm trying to think of someone that gave me advice that like really stuck with me, but the issue is that like I don't really remember. Besides, like,
Yeah,
if
there's
unless it
so
was like
many
life,
from different aspects. Yeah.
yeah, because there wasn't like something where like I had like a life changing point where I met someone and like they're like, don't do this or do it this way. Um, it's always been I try to learn a little bit from everybody I encounter and then help somebody else along the way with it and put it into my own voice and whatnot.
Hmm. I'm just worried for time because I think this is remaining time like 10 minutes. So got a few more for you. Just
No, take it. We'll go until the end and let's
yeah, we'll
ask
go until
let's
the
ask the
end.
viewers at home what they think about it. Come on, caller number one, you're on.
Oh no, it's tempting. I think they're all still asleep, Sean.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate the hustle.
Yeah. So I'm like 17, mate. Still a bit young, but when you were 17, like I guess where were you headed? Like did you know you were on this like entrepreneur journey or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been a lifelong entrepreneur. I mean, so halfway through my 17th point, so like 6 months
Yeah.
before I turned 18, that's when I got into nightlife. That's when I got into marketing. That's when I had like the nexus point peak experience. And that's when I was like, this is what I want to do. And, that's when I was like, I'm going to University of Miami. This is what I'm pursue. So yeah, for me, it happened early, but it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't open to experiences. And it wouldn't have happened if I just, sat home all day and played Xbox. I mean, I did play Xbox, don't get me wrong. But like essentially it was just like it wasn't like 10 hours a day every day. It was like, all right, well, it's 2 in the morning and we just came back from being out, let's play Xbox. So there
Yeah.
was a nice balance. But yeah, I've always been very driven. And it also comes to the fact that I've always had needs and desires that cost money. And how am I going to make the money? Because when you're at 17, like no one's going to hire you. I mean, you'll go get an internship if you're lucky. And if not, you're going to be working, at the mall or something, which
Yeah.
is fine. But like, it's tough to make money as a teenager. You have to be entrepreneurial. You have to, I mean, there's so many skills that, that you could do easily that people older don't know how to do, you know? So it's just about finding a way to monetize it and just take advantage of the fact that you're young. The only pressure you really have is the pressure you put on yourself, and that you have time to fail and you have time to experiment and you have time to spend the next 10 years failing and experimenting. This notion that you have to be the next Mark Zuckerberg and have $1 billion company at 20 years old. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's nice, but the average entrepreneur, like founder right now, is 40. And that's because they spent a career over 20 years networking, building businesses, developing a track record, building wealth that they can use toward whatever they want to do. So don't believe the hype. Don't buy a course for $5,000. Um, don't do anything stupid like that. Just work on what interests you and see where it goes, and keep learning and keep networking, because a lot of the people in your circle right now, you don't know what they're going to grow up to be. And a lot of the people that were in my circle grew up to be, CEOs and founders and investment bankers and actors. And I mean, just there was a lot of people that just grew up to be successful adults.
Mm.
So, it's always good to just start with your network and, go from there.
Yeah, and it's important, like you said, to note that not everyone's gonna be like a Zuckerberg, but you can still be successful. As an entrepreneur without like having that high profile, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, I mean, you don't need the yacht or the jet or the mansion. All right. Like, forget about it. Okay. Just know what you need. You need to have something that you wake up every day that you're going to spend 12 hours a day doing that you're not going to get tired of. You need something that, you're going to work on the weekends. You need something that gives you, that gives you meaning. And you need something that's profitable, something that you can actually make a living from, because there's going to be a point when, you're going to move out, you're going to go into the world, and you're going to say, hey, I don't want to live in a flat with 5 other people. I want to live by myself, and I want a nook, and I want an office with a balcony and a view, and I want to travel. And you're not going to want to have to wait, oh, well, I don't have any vacation days coming up. You're going to want to do your own thing, and you're going to want to, there's going to be opportunities. You're going to want to seize them. So, yeah, I mean, again, all that other stuff is just, it's just for Instagram. Okay. I've done parties on yachts and $50 million mansions and penthouses. It's cool. But at the end of the day, focus on what you got to do. And that's going to give you more fulfillment and more meaning, and going to give you a higher respect for yourself than trying to, like, get your 10th SUV, or, oh, I got a Ferrari, but I really want a Lamborghini, like, it just find something that is just more worthwhile.
mm, yeah, and it's important to be grateful for like the things you have and not like dwell on what you don't have because
A
a lot of
hundred
people
percent.
would look at like a mansion and say, oh, I want to own this and then own that. It's more materialism thereafter. So
I mean, it's just like, listen, I think the best thing you could own is your personal freedom.
love it.
That's it. I mean, listen, you're gonna wait until you have to wake up when you feel like it. You can do what you want. I wake up when I feel like it because I can check the emails when I want to, and I can set my own schedule, and I can do what I want. And I can go out to dinner here, and I can travel when I want to, and I can do that. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean, if you really want to, try and get the yacht, you're going to be killing yourself, and then you'll have the yacht, but you won't have time to enjoy it. I mean, yeah, for like a day you might, or once a week I'm going to go on the yacht, but you could have so much more other things without it.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks so much, Sean. And to wrap things up, like obviously 2022 is halfway through, so like let's think more like in a few years' time. What are your top three goals, mate?
Get my first feature film out,
Ooh, love
and
it.
it's currently waiting on a director. I already got a producer.
Love
Get 100,000 plus people on my Substack newsletter. The link will be below. Put the link below. And then I just like, to keep speaking, and I'm always involved in different things. And for me, life is very fluid. It's hard for me to have like, oh, what do I want to see in the next 3 years, when like things change weekly for me, sometimes hourly, sometimes monthly, just because I have a vast network and people are always bringing opportunities to me. So I don't, it's even 6 months ago, it's different where I was to where I am now. And I don't know what's going to happen further 6 months, because I kind of live in the moment. And yeah, I have a long term strategy, but at the same time, I'm very open and fluid if something comes up.
No, I love that, mate. And I could tell by the emails like we had times where both of us couldn't do it, and then we made it work. So yeah,
Yeah, just that's it, to make it work. Most
exactly.
people are like, I can't make it work because I'm going to Cancun and blah blah blah. Then I'm doing this, and I'm doing like, it's like a million things. I'm just like, all right, give me a day at a time. Let's roll. And we did it.
Yeah, my voice is gone, mate. So I wanted to thank you so much, Sean, because Sham introduced me and I listened to his episode and that inspired me a lot.
Oh, thank you so much.
And with Miami, if I'm ever down there, Sean,
Oh, please come on. Where there's a door, there's a way.
I
Yeah,
love that.
please. Yeah, that was my old catchphrase. We're gonna bring it back. But yeah, it's a long trip for you. You'll probably, if you get on a flight this week, you'll turn 21 when the plane lands. you know?
Need to save up first, Sean. I'm a broke high
Yeah.
school student.
Oh, don't worry, man. We were all broke high school students at once.
Yeah.
In fact, I know people that are still in high school and still broke. They never left. So don't worry about it. Keep hustling.